The body of 2-year-old Bella Bond was found as a Jane Doe inside a plastic garbage bag on the shoreline of Deer Island near Boston, Massachusetts. After the body was found, the public placed flowers near the scene. She wore only a pair of white leggings designed with a black polka dot pattern. A zebra print blanket was also inside the bag. Initially, police were unsure if additional bodies would be at the scene, so they attempted unsuccessfully to use cadaver dogs to locate any other possible remains. But developments in the case have suggested that Bella's body had been hidden in a fridge for as long as 1 month before it was deposited on Deer Island. Investigators were able to conclude that she was a young child, but were initially unsure of her race and ethnicity. Several theories emerged as to how the body had ended up on the beach shore. Investigators speculated that her body had been washed up instead of placed, and that perhaps she had drifted over from Canada due to the pattern of the sea currents. Another theory was that her killer had been a water treatment worker who had become very familiar with the layout of the beach and had placed her body there at night to avoid being seen. An autopsy was conducted on July 3rd, but did not conclude what had caused the girl's death. While authorities suspected foul play as a factor in the case, no signs of obvious injury had been found on the remains. Authorities reconstructed her face and sent the photos to the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System. A press conference displaying the reconstruction and the enhanced images of the clothing and blanket was later held at the location where the body was found. Despite their hopes, no one came forward to claim responsibility for the crime or to confirm who the victim was. After months of no new leads in the case, it was theorized that Bella might have never been reported missing and her family may not be aware of her death. Investigators set up a 24-hour hotline for those with information on the case to call. A text hotline was also created. Many submitted information about potential matches, later revealed to be missing children in over half of the United States. Eventually, the identification was made after the sister of one of Rachel Bond's neighbors reported to police a link between Bond and the Jane Doe. Apparently, the neighbor had noticed Bella was absent from the household and had confronted Rachel D. Bond and her boyfriend Michael P. McCarthy. One witness told authorities she grew concerned when she stopped seeing the child at her mother's apartment and when the girl's toys were disposed of. Rachel Bond, known as a habitual drug user, had 2 other children who had been removed from her custody. She had also been arrested multiple times in the past for other crimes, including prostitution. Police commented that they had dealt with complaints that she was neglecting her daughter and had had 4 separate encounters with Bond. The maternal grandmother of the victim was unaware that the child was ever born. The Department of Children and Families had responded to 2 neglect complaints regarding Bella. Both cases were closed. Police released the information that the child was a murder victim and charged Michael McCarthy, the mother's boyfriend, with Bond's death. They also charged her mother with being an accessory to the crime, believing her to have assisted McCarthy with covering up Bella's death. McCarthy, for his part, claimed it was Rachel who was responsible for Bella's death. McCarthy claimed he had left after witnessing Rachel's negative treatment of Bella, which included emotional and physical abuse. McCarthy's defense provided text messages and journal entries made by Bond that were written after Bella died. The entries still referred to him affectionately, which his attorneys believe suggest his innocence. Bond continued to claim her actions after the murder were out of fear. She was also allegedly tranquilized with heroin injected by McCarthy after the murder. Although McCarthy had been charged with first-degree murder, the judge allowed the jury to consider lesser charges of second-degree murder and involuntary manslaughter. On June 26, 2017, the jury returned a guilty verdict of second-degree murder, and 2 days later, he was sentenced to life imprisonment. He will be eligible for parole in 2037.